the red tally-ho. And as we go through these decks, please let me know your favorite of the bunch. Lots of tally-ho tonight with some B. So we'll start with the more simple decks first, fairly straightforward, and get into the more interesting as we move along. So please get yourselves nice and comfy, and let's get this going. So that was the red standard, and this is the blue standard. Just want to make sure to go through and get those details in. So there's no mystery but regular front, and that is the tally-ho back. Okay, so the thing that's interesting about tally-ho are its subtle variations. This one is also a number 9 right there, but it is a fan back. So let's take a look at this one. Simple and sweet for the design. Jokers, more color, and face cards much of the same, with their ace of spades right there. Alright, let's try a little bit more of a fun one. And this one is an older favorite. Same back, but it's pink. And unlike most pink decks, it has a very satisfying pink front design with a slight variation of the art style on the face cards. Let's find that ace of spades. Honestly, these are very simple decks, but some of my favorites. So let's move to another color while we're at it. And let's go with purple. Gotta love purple. It pops in such a satisfying way. And I haven't seen these colored ones around as much, so you might have to do some eBay searching if you're interested. But not bad. And it is worth mentioning, we still have some tally-ho decks to come that are brand new, which are always fun and exciting. The Orchid. Now this one, a fan back, but with a very lovely pattern throughout. And its box. Jokers are the tally-ho standard. Little color variation. Ace of spades. And let's find some face cards. And there we go. The reason why I like these ones particularly is that they have that little stripe. So when you do a little spread, you see a bit extra. Sometimes it's nice. Other decks kind of struggle with it, but tally-ho knows what they are doing. Let's go to a similar one. Yeah. Another fan back design, very similar to our last, but the colors different and satisfying in their own way. Let's find the ace of spades and then some face cards. This one is much better in person than you'd think. And I like the corner edges, on these cards. You could tell they're in a different design, good coloring contrast really goes a far way with these decks. And as you can tell, there's a pretty consistent standard amongst these Talio decks, which is much better than most other brands. So let's pop them right there and move on to, honestly, my least favorite. You could probably guess why. Yellow is sometimes a bit tough to see, but right now it's actually looking better than usual. Much better than usual, my goodness. Actually not too bad. What do you know? I thought we would change it up tonight with the lighting. And I think the soft white light complements, oh yeah, regular back design. The brighter color is a bit more than just a regular white light. Green. Now this one is a bit of a favorite of mine amongst these colors. Green almost always looks nice. Just look at that. It just stands out but isn't too aggressive. Subtle and sweet and very neat. So 10 decks through. I wonder how many we actually have at hand tonight. We are going through all of our Talio decks that we have cracked into so far. And if I'm not mistaken, this deck right here may have been our first Talio deck ever. You might have to go back and check that one because my memory remembers a lot of things, but not this. But also very nice, satisfying, soft blue. A little bit like cotton candy, in a sense. Alright, now back to some simpler cards. So this is the original pack. You may think they are the same deck right here and there, but this one is black as instead of white. A variation on the front, which is actually surprisingly different. I think this deck may have debuted in one of our lost episodes. For those of you who don't know, we do a little lost episodes on the member channels to get through a bit more decks because everyday uploads can't fit in as many decks as I'd like, so a little treat in there with uploads fairly regularly, but a nice little variation there. I don't know why, but it seems like there's a bit of hesitancy to use black designs on cards or black dominance as we go back to just a standard design here. Ace looks a little different. Maybe it's just me. It's hard to pull off, but when it's done well, it is quite the treat. So in case you're wondering, this is circle, 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 and that's a fan, and that's a fan. And because I know some of you might be a little picky, no worries, I'll put them with where they belong to keep the uniformity in line. As we get to the red fan. So in a sense, these decks are mirroring themselves at the top with another standard Talio design. Again, very good texture and consistency. Actually, I'm looking around where my decks So I might do a little pause to see if I can find them somewhere. But anyway, metallic Stalo in blue. Already looking much nicer with the gold there. A slight variation on the face guards. A little more regal in a sense, with a nice reflective back, good texture, good control. One of the classics, in my opinion, of this channel. It's been around a while. And if we're gonna go with the blue, let's add the red right next to it. Lovely box as well. It's so crazy looking at all of this. I never would have thought when I did my first solitaire video that would be somewhere like this. That sinks in from time to time, but my goodness, going through like this consistent array of satisfying decks really brings it home. I don't know what this is. Oh, the Spectrum deck. Now this one's fun. I believe we may have put this back in order. Oh, we did not. Well, it's a little different than the other ones, as you could tell fairly early. I think it comes with 2 Ace of Spades, standard face cards. Let's see if we can find the other. There it is. So the classic Ace of Spades and the Spectrum Ace of Spades. And there is a guide. Well, there should be a guide in here somewhere to give you the order to put this deck in perfect sequence, or maybe that's another one. So it could just be like a rainbow as opposed to all separate, but still a very neat deck. Now give me 1 second for a cut because I know we're missing something. So let's see if I can find it real quick. Well, it would seem as if I was mistaken. So, this one is a King's Wild Project, I think, Talio deck. That's their logo. And going back to what I was looking for, apparently I did not do the special during the lost episodes of the Orbit Talio decks. They're just like these up here, but with an orbit center. It's like a solid red, a solid blue, and a solid black trio that we'll probably do at some point in our lost episodes. Honestly, I'm not sure what I think of this deck. It's kind of fitting, but it doesn't fit the pattern of regular Talio. It is nice, but definitely an outlier amongst what we have at hand. So let's put this one up top and get back into some of these lovely, oh wait a second, heart deck. This one is a bit different. I thought it was going to be like these 3 with the fan, but this is what we're dealing with here. I love this one. The colors are just nice, simple, and satisfying. The patterns throughout the card. The face cards, very complementary of each other. And let's see the little effect it does when you roll it out. Very fun deck. Honestly, I think whenever I see a Talio deck, I know I'm going to be getting some cards. The Plum Blossom. that's just a preference. Still, a lovely deck of cards with a lovely effect. Can't be upset at that. Alright, let's go to the Summer Fan deck. Now this one, when I first found it, I thought it was a bit loud, or at least had that potential. Lovely back, but they did it well with the softer front card design. Had me worried for a second, but still a very nice addition to the collection. Alright, let's see what this one looks like with a little slide. Neat. I never thought there'd be this many Talio cards, honestly. Alright, we have just two more Tally-Hos. The Autumn Circle deck. And it kind of fits with our others at the bottom. Joker variation, just the color. And it looks like it had our old style Casino Shuffle in it. And one more little fan. A little bit of a 70s feel right there. Maybe because I just picture the 70s to be decorated in a lot of autumn colors. Alright. The Masterclass deck. Obviously a bit different than the rest. Let's take a look. I think when this deck debuted, it was not under the best lighting. And it could have looked much better. Right now, it looks pretty decent. But before, there was no justice towards it. So there might be another lost episodes with this deck and its complement, the White Masterclass deck. But pretty neat. Different, to say the least. And let me see, I think we have about 7, at least, Talio decks to get into after this in our future episodes. Oh, come on, don't be a butthole. There you go. Let's drop that at the bottom, lift that to the top, and get into the B decks. So these are jumbo index cards. I love this type of look. Very simple back, to the point. And just a nice, for me, more of a nostalgia feel of playing cards with my uncle. The brand and the look. Just a little more firm than the other cards since they'd be played with so much. That's actually another nice thing about a deck of cards, is that each deck has a different texture and a different sound. But the interesting thing about it is the more you shuffle and the more you play with the deck, the softer they become. Same thing as our last, just more of a picnic table. And the sound of a soft shuffle is just so different than a newer deck, which we haven't really done yet, I guess. We haven't used enough decks, or a deck enough, to make it old. The Gung Ye Fat Choi deck. I forget which one this is exactly. I think it has a specific year, but another B brand deck. Very lovely red back throughout. Kind of reminds me of an envelope. An awesome 4 Joker nice deck to say the least. Alright, we're down to our final 4 decks. And we're just about out of space, so works out just fine for us. I guess we'll put this here. Ooh, let's go with this one. The B in red metallics. So these are jumbo, and this one should be standard. Nice honeycomb back. Same jokers, and a slight variation on the coloring. Always appreciated. Ace of spades. Right, 3 more. I actually think this was one of our giveaway decks from an earlier 100th special. I don't know, just a random memory. Alright, the B metallics in blue. So, pretty much what you would think. Let's give it a look. Technically could be 4 jokers. Gotta appreciate that for all of you rummy players. I have no idea why sometimes my speaking just fumbles so much. I just attribute it to being tired. Anyway, very nice deck. And let's move on to the final 2. The Silver Stinger and the Gold Stinger B decks. I like how they keep their uniformity throughout. Sounds kind of lame, but I like it. Especially with the Talio and B. They have their logo in just about the same spot. So we'll go with the Silver Stinger first. I got these ones off of eBay, I believe. Not too bad. They work well. Just wish there was a little more vibrancy there. But nothing really to complain about. And the gold. Drop these back in their box. I enjoy it when a deck has a nice box like this and has just an average or a slightly above average deck within. Because sometimes when you see a box that looks like this that's super nice, you worry that the deck's gonna suck, or if it's gonna be too nice to where you don't want to play with it. But these are just in that sweet spot. And just a nice color contrast throughout. And there we go. That is another part of our growing collection. My goodness. I'll leave a link to the playlist of all of our collection videos if you're curious, but that's it for this one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 27, 30 decks tonight. And with that, I hope you enjoyed. Please have yourself a relaxing remainder of your night. Many sweet dreams, and until we meet again, stay safe and eat your fruits and vegetables.